Deep in the woods where the mysteries grow, there is a place where nobody goes.
Hello, everyone.
If you decide to
Grizzly
go
once
there
again,
alone, beware of the beast
coast to coast and around the world. Do I have a setup for you this evening? I've got a set of 4 that's going to blow your mind with the information they have. Been around for a while. I actually went hunting all the time growing up in their county. I grew up in Oldham County, so their county was just the next county over pretty much. Sit back, relax. Mr. Thomas, how you doing today?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Wonderful. Why don't you tell me a little about yourself?
Well, my name is Thomas Shay, and I'm the founder of the Northern Kentucky Bigfoot Research Group. I started in 1987 and been doing it ever since. Been to several states. Mostly I work in Kentucky right now. We go out and we have a good time, look for what we have to look for. And I got 2 of the best guys in the world with me right now. I got Keith Lofton and I got Dusty Rude. You guys want to introduce yourself? Dusty?
Hi, I'm Dusty Ruth. I'm actually from Southern Ohio. I've been with Tom's group now for a few years. Really enjoyed my time with that group. Everybody's like family. So I really do appreciate the opportunity to get together with all those people and go out on the weekends. I'm also an investigator for the BFRO and have been for a number of years and help them with investigations and lead expeditions in Southern Ohio. But I'm here representing Tom's group today, the Northern Kentucky Bigfoot Research Group. I'm retired, so I get to spend most of the time, or about any time that I choose to, with going out and investigating Bigfoot. In my former career, I was actually an investigator for about 25 years, and then I became the administrator of that agency, and then did another 11 years for a total of 36, and retired.
That's nice to hear. It really is. So when do y'all get to go out?
Whenever Tom says.
One of the things is scheduling. One of the hardest things for us to do. Everybody's got something going on. Like Dusty, he's got several things going on. Other people in the group's got things going on. I have to plan ahead at least a couple of months or a couple of weeks ahead, so that everybody can be able to go out, because it takes quite a few people for us to go out and do our thing. Like Dusty does a lot of audio work, and Dusty has picked up quite a bit of good stuff. And he shares it with me in our area, and you'll be surprised what you hear out here in the woods. Now, Keith Lofton's back. Keith, tell us about yourself.
Keith, tell us about yourself. Can you hear us, Keith? I think he's frozen.
Yeah. Can we just make up stuff about him? that might get his attention.
No, and we got some other people. We got another person, John Gregory. He has a lot of experience I rely on him also on our investigations. These guys that work with me, they're not yes people. They question everything just like I do. And I'm really, really glad these people are with me. Because we'll sit down and actually discuss something. Dusty was out with me a couple times. And, one time we was out at the county park. You know what the county park is there.
Yes.
And we had a sighting up there. And we back here looking around. And we happened to sit down and relax a minute like that. And I looked down between my feet. And I told Dusty, I said, Dusty, look at you. There's a footprint. And by the way, there was a large footprint, and Dusty casted it.
Yeah, we actually found what appeared to be at least several partial footprints that day. We casted 3. The smallest one was about an 8-inch cast that actually my son Wes had found. He was with us, and we cast that one, and then the 2 large ones, the one that Tom's talking about, that thing was actually about 21 inches long and was so deep that it took me 30 pounds of casting material to be able to cast it. And then along with that, I figured I had about 10 pounds of water in it. So now it weighs about 40 pounds. There was another one that we got the same day that was about 18 inches, and then several that looked to be about half the indentation of the foot. But it looked like there had been some walking around in that area that week. We had gotten a lot of rain, and that's one of the reasons that one indentation was so deep. But it also made it easier to find tracks.
Right. Welcome back, Keith. Can you hear us? Keith. Nanu.
He may not have his mic turned on.
He was talking to us earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's freezing up.
Yeah. Now, when you find these prints, somebody yesterday suggested for every 2 inches is a foot in height. Now, I don't know how they came up with that.
That's an approximation that some people do use, and it'll put you in the ballpark.
So that 21 incher, that's a monster.
And you also got to look at your athletes. You know, Shaq O'Neal, Wilt Chamberlain. They wear different size shoes, and you know their height and weight, stuff like that.
Well, especially when it's real muddy, sometimes you have some slippage, and I think that's probably what had taken place, especially with the one that we found that was 21 inches. I don't believe it had a 21-inch foot. I think there was some slippage there in the mud, and just created an indentation that was 21 inches.
Yeah, the Goliath print is actually 18 inches, but where it had slid in the mud, you got a 21-inch footprint. That's the one we call here in Trimble County Goliath. And most of my castings are of Goliath here in the county. Now, he's actually walked up on me, and I've seen him.
That's wild. So how many Bigfoots do y'all have in your area?
In all actuality, if I put an approximation on it, I wouldn't be telling the truth because I haven't got all the data yet. But I will tell you that there is a male, maybe two an alpha male and 2 smaller ones, and a couple of juveniles.
There's a lot of sightings that take place in Toms County. I can tell you that.
This one says, I came up with that from sightings with a correspondent print. I guess he heard of it too, the 2 inches per 1 inch of track. So, good afternoon. How are y'all doing? I have about 20 years here around. Oh, he's got about 20 here around his place. Wow. That's amazing. So each one of y'all actually seen one before?
I have.
I've seen what for sure. I've seen 2 with a thermal camera, but possibly a third one. But I'm not positive on the third one. But all of mine took place at night with a thermal camera.
Wow. What goes through your mind when you see something like that?
First thing is excitement. If I'm with the other guys, I want to get their attention so they can see it also.
That's it. I mean, it's bewilderment. I mean, in all actuality, these things are not supposed to exist, but you see them. You actually see them.
Well, not only that, you're casting tracks of it too.
Well, yeah, but before 1987, I would have told you I don't believe in Bigfoot. Not until my sighting. I actually drove by one and came back and actually followed it down into a field. That was back in 97. And that's what got me onto this. Because I grew up, monsters don't exist. Things like this don't exist in the world.
Well, there's no day.
Unbelievable. I mean, what was you thinking when you was driving behind it?
Well, I was young and stupid at the time. I just wanted to see what I was looking at, because I thought maybe there was some guy in a suit or something like that, but it wasn't. It really wasn't. And from that day on, I mean, I digested just about everything about Bigfoot. I used to work alone. Now I got 6 or 7 people working with me, right? And each of them come from different parts of the country, different backgrounds. So, and they've been with me when we've had activity. Like Dusty said, here, what was that, about 4 years ago? 3 years ago.
2019.
2019. We sat and watched one for 2.5 hours on thermal.
Yeah, that one actually curled up to about 40 feet from us. There was another one I saw at another time that was about 87 feet or so. And neither time did I ever feel like I had anything to fear from these things. But I do carry a healthy dose of respect for them. And I'm one of those that I refuse. And I also, when I'm doing talks in libraries and stuff, I tell other people, when you go hiking and stuff, do not go by yourself. Take somebody else with you. At least one other person. If nothing else, you don't know when you may go down and fracture, an ankle or something like that. And you need somebody to go get help, but don't go alone. Take somebody with you, and do respect them.
Yeah, because I don't live too far from the Appalachian Trail, and look at all the people go missing from there.
Yeah, right.
Then you got the 411, then you got the Alaskan Triangle, over 60,000 people. No clothes, no camping gears, no guns. I mean, what's going on with all that?
Well, I think there's a lot of things out in the forest that we don't understand yet. There's just a lot of mystery to it. And that's why I tell people, don't take the chance. take somebody with you. Stay together with that person.
This one says, no, I came up with it. It's David Parker. Hey, David. So you're the one that came up with the 2-inch. This one says, all the ones that I've seen in broad daylight, and I was fortunate to have someone with me when I saw them. Yeah, that's true. Another one. Tom is a great researcher in our group, and glad to have him in our group. Bigfoot believers and other creatures. Another one, always tell someone where you're going and when you're supposed to be back. Yeah, that's what we always did when I went hunting. Never went by myself, and always told somebody when we're going to go and what time we're going to be back. And if we didn't come back at that time, we always had cell phones to call. Let them know that, hey, we got one. We're just field dressing it. And so, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of safety precautions that you really should plan to address when you get ready to go out, besides just taking, somebody with you. But that's the main thing. You want to enjoy this activity and stuff, but at the same time, you need to keep you and those around you safe.
It's just like when we're at base camp and stuff, and somebody actually want to walk out into the woods, on a path or something. And I would tell them, I said, don't deviate from that path. And they look at you, why? I said, well, because I'm the one that's going to have to look for you. And if you go off this path, I'm going to be looking for you in this general direction, whereas you went off into another. It's going to be too late if something happened to you. So we have rules. We have safety rules.
That's great.
Right now, we're doing a lot of stuff with hair. We found quite a bit of hair.
Yeah, do you all get to send that off to get it analyzed?
Yes, it's all so far. Almost everything actually has met the gold standard that we got.
It's got what?
The gold standard. Dr. Fahrenbach. Am I saying that right, Dusty?
Yeah, Dr. Henner Fahrenbach, who he used to be a consultant for the BFRO, but he set what's often determined as the gold standard for identifying possible Bigfoot hair. What it should look like.
That's weird.
And so that's what Tom's talking about, is a lot of the hair that's been found by our group lately has met that gold standard. In other words, there have been others that are willing to look at our samples and then determine whether or not it appears to meet that gold standard set by Dr. Fahrenbach.
Oh, I got you. I thought you were saying goats.
No. Yeah, gold.
Yeah, okay. I was like, you're going places where goats are not located. That's for sure. Now, this one says, my very first one I saw was all of all places, was seen on a military base, Camp Laguna, in Jackson, North Carolina. And
there's been a lot of reports around different military bases.
Yeah, there has. There has. Guys, walk me through a typical investigation. What do you all do? I see you got a war room on your webpage.
You want to take?
Go ahead.
Well, basically, if Tom gets a report that there's been a sighting or something like that, a lot of times, since he lives in the county, the rest of us are spread out in several different counties. So Tom will be the initial contact. He'll go out usually that day and look around. I interview the witnesses, try to see where the sighting took place. He might also, depending on what the conditions are, he may go ahead and look to see if he can find any tracks. Then sometimes he will notify us, and if we can get together on the weekend, we will come to that area. We'll set up a base camp. where we'll have like a campfire. We put up some canopies. We don't go out and do a lot of hiking and marching through the forest. Instead, we will put up canopies with these gravity recliner chairs, and we'll sit up in those during the night and try to watch and listen for them using our night vision and thermal cameras. Then during the daytime, we'll usually go out and look for evidence like tracks and hairs and things of that nature.
Yeah, so I heard usually if you stay at camp, they usually come to you.
Yeah, they're curious creatures, and I believe you'll have more success if you just sit around, act natural, attract their attention and curiosity, and let them come to see what you're doing versus going out there and tromping around in the forest. Because anytime you do that, they're going to know you're there, and most of the time they're going to hide from you.
You know, you as a hunter, when you went after something, chased something, it ran away from you, didn't it? So,
right.
What's the use of going out and trying to chase them further and further? They're curious creatures, just like we are. They see something out there in their habitat. They want to know what's going on. We even have deer.
Yeah. How many casts do y'all have in your all's collection so far?
Tom, how many you have?
What's that?
Casts in your collection.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I stopped counting at 200 or something.
Oh, wow.
That's over 30 years. I mean, and some of them don't even, aren't even that great. And, and I do have some hoaxes in my collection. Cliff has seen some hoaxes. I mean, but I cast them anyway. That gives me a database to look at. If I find this same track in another area, I have an idea that, these people were doing it, And,
well, you always got little Johnny running around in the field, half drunk in a monkey suit. So,
well, if you're running around in a monkey suit in this county, when somebody sees you, I don't think they'll ask you.
I know.
But,
we do at times have people that go barefooted at times, and sometimes will attempt to try to hoax us or may do it unintentionally.
Huh.
Or you see somebody sculpt a footprint. You see the little indentations of the fingers in there, and where they smoothed it out. And, and you look at them and go, this is an actual track. Where's the rest of them at? You only see one, and it's in a really good muddy place. I mean, you see all the fingerprints in it and everything, and you tell him, he goes, this is fake, dude. And they get all hostile at you and everything,
And speaking for Southern Ohio, our substrate here for finding Bigfoot tracks isn't very conducive to finding well-defined tracks, where you can actually see the toes and everything, unless they step in mud or an area around a creek or unless it's rained real hard, like within the last day or so. You're probably not going to find well-defined tracks.
I mean, that makes sense. It really does.
But whereas you're hearing
most memorable moment out in the woods on one of your all's cases?
Well, for me, it was probably the night that Tom was referring to earlier, where we watched the one for a couple hours as it crawled up closer and closer to us, and just the opportunity to watch that thing through thermal cameras and getting to see, what that what it was up to, and the fact that it was interested in what we were doing, and wanted to get closer and closer to us.
Yeah, it was within 40 feet of us. But with the night vision, your thermal, you can't judge distance. We thought it was further out, but the next morning, it was only like 40 yards from us.
Oh, wow.
40 feet, 40 yards, something like that.
Yeah, 40 feet.
40 feet.
Wow.
That's where it ended up. Originally, when I first saw it, it was sitting behind it was sitting up against a creek bank, but was behind an old rotted out log. So I could only see it from like the chest up. And it looked to be the shape of what most people describe a Bigfoot looks like. So I watched it for about a half hour, and the thing never moved. So then I started doubting myself as to whether or not it was a Bigfoot. So eventually, after watching it for a half hour and not seeing it move, I hollered at Tom, who was over by the campfire talking to other members of our party. And Tom came over, and I told him about seeing this thing out there. But I said, Tom is shaped like a Bigfoot, but it hasn't moved in a half hour. So Tom started watching it too. And once he started watching it, it did start moving. It started swaying back and forth, which many people describe. And then almost immediately after, it crawled up over that creek bank, crawled over behind a couple trees, stayed behind them for a little bit, and then came out from behind them and crawled over behind two other trees, stayed behind it for a while. Then eventually it crawled up to where we last saw it, behind the tree, which was about 40 feet away. We couldn't understand why it didn't come out from behind that tree. But when we got up the next morning and it was daylight and we were able to see, we found out that actually behind that tree was a branch of the creek where we first saw it, and we think it had just crawled up that branch of the creek and got away without us seeing it, and who knows where it went to after that. But it actually didn't stay behind that tree. It just happened to be right behind it when it hit that branch of the creek.
Y'all get rocks or anything thrown at you?
Oh, yeah. We've had logs thrown at us.
Yeah. I've had acorns and rocks both thrown. And I know, I'm trying to think, the one area that we go to the most often, the last time that we were there for an outing, there was one or two of them throwing rocks in our direction all night long. We had moved from our base camp, had sat in kind of a bowl that actually got flooded out a lot of times when it had rain. So we moved up on top of a ridge, which was right beside it. And it was a little farther away from where these things were throwing the rocks. So I think they were trying to throw the rocks to where we were at in the base camp, but just couldn't throw them far enough. I think it was throwing them from the next ridge over, and they would fall in kind of the area where our base camp used to be. And I could hear those rocks, especially going through the high grasses and things. And I knew from having done audio for some time, I recognized that sound, and I knew that it was rocks going through the high grass. And so a couple of our members stayed up and was going down into that area where they were throwing rocks to see what they could do, and also see if they could see one. I watched with my thermal camera. I never did see it that night. I'm not positive where they were at throwing them, although I do think they were up on that next ridge and probably behind the ridge and just kind of launching them from there, so that we weren't able to see them.
Wow.
The one memorable moment for me is when we was in southern Illinois. Everybody talks about the red eye glow. Okay, I've seen eye shine, but I've never seen eye glow, and everybody talked about it. And I thought, eyes can't glow. Well, we was in Southern Illinois on an investigation, and we had one walk up on us while we were sitting on a base camp, and we saw I turned around and I saw these eyes glowing like coals, and it just slowly turned around and started walking away. Saw it again here in Trumbull County, and that's the only 2 times I ever saw it. And it really boggles me, what makes the eyes glow. I mean, it was no illumination, no moon, no lights, no flashlights, no nothing.
That's amazing.
So,
That really is.
and
Now, do you believe in Bigfoot's an interdimensional person, monster, cryptid?
I really don't get into that and stuff like that. As far as I'm concerned, it's a flesh and blood creature. I haven't found any evidence of that. So, I can't go there. What you think, Dusty?
I'm kind of like Tom. At this point right now, I believe it's a flesh and blood creature. I've never seen any evidence to indicate otherwise, but I will admit that I do keep an open mind, because I realize that just because I haven't experienced something, that doesn't mean that somebody else might not have. So I won't call anybody a liar if they say they saw this, saw that, just because I didn't experience it.
Well, that's the way I am. I mean, I got an open mind about it too, but I mean, it's just like the dog man. Okay, I have never found any evidence or any tracks of a dog man, but that doesn't mean that there's not one out there.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think there's a lot of things out there in the forest that we don't fully understand yet, and I still hold with that belief.
I believe you on that. And this one says they are more intelligent than people, and they need or give them credit for. And actually, they're more smarter than most humans today. They have to be able to stay hid from us as long as they have. That's true. And the other one is if they wanted to hit you, they would actually hit you. So that's true.
Now, I've been hit with rocks that had blood drawn.
Oh, wow.
In one of my areas. Also, I know another researcher had the same thing happen to him. You got a rock thrown at him and it draw blood. It was painful.
I could imagine. So,
But,
how many investigations do you think you all have done?
I mean, if you add the ones that I've participated in with Tom's group and the ones that I've done with the BFRO here in Ohio, I couldn't begin to tell you. I just tell you it's a lot. And I know that Tom's certainly participated in more than I have down in Kentucky.
That's just it. That's why I document everything, because I can go back and look at stuff.
Right.
That's one of the biggest things that I try to tell everybody. Document everything. Weather, your fauna, animals in the area. What the moon phase. It might not have nothing to do with it, but it might do it. It might have. Like here recently, I figured out about why certain places get more activity in the spring than in the fall. Because of the food supply. So, as you know, here here by the Ohio River, you get what you call the backwater during March, April, May, high water, and it backs up these streams back up these creeks. into these fields, and you got all these fish when the water goes down real quick. All right, that's a smorgasbord for these things. They're out there picking them up at night. So most of the time that's when we have a lot of sightings in that area. The other area is when you got where the orchards are. We have lots of orchards here. It's a farming community. One of the biggest things right here that I did last winter was I went on investigations where a lot of feed was stolen.
Really?
Right. Now, I don't see any way to sell a hill in the middle of the night in the dark. A 25 to 50 pound bag. So, some of these places, they're so far out. Away from go to two fences, and then get the feed out. Well, I mean, I'd rather go spend the money and buy the feed than have to do all that.
That's true. I mean, I can understand. I sure can. So, what's your all's thoughts on Bigfoot? How do they get around? How do they live? What's your all's thinking on how they survive? Talking about fish and streams and feed being missing.
That's just it right here. You got multiple soybean fields. We have cornfields. We have cattle farms. We have orchards. Everybody's got a garden here. So, and you got roadkill. Now, there has been people talk about seeing something grab roadkill and run off. And as far as living, there is some caves in this part of the world. The limestone caves up on the hillside toward the Ohio River. Okay. And and you got all these abandoned buildings out there. You got these barns that's out in the middle of the woods. I mean, you'd be out there hunting and walk up on a building. All right. There you got, that's where you can stay at.
Yeah. I'm surprised you don't get more encounters during deer season out there in Trimble County.
We do. I've had actually a couple of hunters that actually had encounters with them. A couple of them have left their equipment and stuff and wouldn't come back.
Oh, wow.
They would talk to me about it. There's one hunter during turkey season that got chased by one. And when I talked to him after he got hold of me, I mean, this poor kid had cuts across his face where he runs through the brush and everything like that. He was ripped up pretty bad. And when I talked to him, he was so shook up. I mean, he lit one cigarette up and he lit another one up, right after, because he was so shook up. And I wanted him to go back there where it was, and he would not go. I mean, he started to bawl, So, he pinpointed it on the map where I needed to go, and so I went. I did find a shotgun because he said he shot at it. I did find what appeared to be tracks, but that was about it. I didn't run into nothing like that. I took the shotgun back to him. Every once in a while, he'll send me a line and ask me, has anything happened in that area again? So, yeah, we have stuff that happens here. Deer season. But a lot of people just don't talk about it. I mean,
Yeah, well, that's one thing I know is out there in Trimble County, they just don't talk about things. They know it's there, and just let it be.
oh yeah, I mean, you can ask Dusty. I mean, the people around here, when you go out and talk to them, they'll tell you about it. They saw it and everything like that. But if you get them around a bunch of people,
Yeah.
they're not. It's just humiliation. People make fun of you. But that's one of the biggest things about us as researchers. I got to hide like iron. You can ridicule me all you want. It ain't gonna bother me.
See, and one of the questions I have is that they're leaving tracks up to 21 inches. Do they migrate? Where do they migrate to? Where do they migrate from? Do they stay in the area during the winter? Do you see structures in the woods?
Yeah, I mean, I've videotaped and photographed structures. Matter of fact, we have activity year round.
Oh wow!
We've been out there where it's so cold that we're huddled up next to a fire trying to stay warm, but we're still doing it. Am I correct, Dusty?
Yeah, we stayed out. Like I said, when we go out, we just put up canopies. We don't put up tents. And we've been out in December and January before, sleeping and staying outside. I woke up before the next day when it's a lot of times I'll stay up till like 4 o'clock in the morning. I've made it as late as 6 before, and then we try to catch a nap during the early morning hours and I've actually woke up in the next morning around, say, when I slept from 4 to 6 or something like that. Woke up the next morning, frost and snow covering me.
Wow.
So yeah, we do stay out in the harsh elements at times, trying to get a better idea for what these individuals can do. I personally, I have never seen any structures that I thought would shelter any of them in the winter sufficiently, but I do believe that they may migrate as far as going to caves and things like that they can get into. I personally don't believe that they migrate from like Ohio or Kentucky down into Florida. And because first of all, they'd have to walk all the way down there, and then they're going to walk all the way back. And you would think if that was happening, then Bigfoot's in Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, some of those states, you'd have those Bigfoots walking down into the area where we live. And I just don't find that to be the case. I put out what we call long duration recorders that will allow me to record every night from about 9 o'clock to 7 o'clock in the morning. I can program the recorders for how many hours I want it to do. Normally, that's what I set it for. And I've had them out in the winter time. And I will say this, that during the winter time, there's a lot less activity captured by those recorders than there is during, say, from April through October. Those months, I get a lot of, whoops and howls and knocking on trees and things like that. During the winter months, I'll get an occasional knock, and it'll be like a solitary knock, with no response, and then maybe get another one, maybe a couple hours later. So it's nothing like I'm getting during the warmer months where there'll be a knock and a response from one location and a response from another location. And then you hear another knock again about 5 minutes. And, you just don't get that during the wintertime.
Yeah. I guess they slow down, like you said, bunker down and so forth.
Yeah, I believe that they probably do hunker down. I believe that they try to conserve their calories and energy, and the more movement that you have out of them, the more calories they're going to burn. And so I believe that over the years they've learned to try to refrain from doing that.
That's the same way in hot weather. Extreme heat. Most animals they'll lay down. They'll become less active during the daytime and stuff like that. Sometimes at night they're not that active. So if you got high temperatures in the day or at night, you ain't gonna get much movement.
Right.
But I will tell you this, in this one area that we actually go through a lot. It was in February, and it dropped down to almost like 17 degrees. And everybody had fallen asleep except for me and Keith. And we built the fire up. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. We built the fire up, and we got into our sleeping bags and stuff, and was going to take a snoozy because we've been up all night and nothing's happened. As soon as we get sleeping bags and stuff, we got the fire built up real good for everybody to stay warm. One walks down the hill behind us. I mean, it was so close. You could actually almost reach out and touch it.
Wow.
We was trying to get out of our sleeping bags. Both of us were trying to get out of our sleeping bags so fast. And everybody else was too. Because this thing made noise when it came through camp. But I mean, that's it. We go out in extreme weather, One summer, it was so hot. Keith brought in one of those big industrial fans and a generator. And in the daytime, we'd use that big industrial fan to stay cool. Because this area that we're in, like that, we don't get no air.
Right.
And so
That's wild. It's very interesting. Y'all ever capture Bigfoot or Sasquatch on camera?
Well, I kind of got a video. It's not that great. Cliff and Bobo's seen it. It's not that great, but yeah.
The times that we've done that, it's been with thermal cameras.
Right. Well, everybody always asks me, Grizzly, is this video real or fake? And the first thing I say, A, I wasn't there, and 2, I didn't take the video. Because, some Bigfoots, they interfere with electronics. That's a known fact. And 2, some people believe what they actually caught is what they think they caught, and I'm not going to burst their bubble and be like, no, it's not what it is, and getting arguments over somebody and hurt their feelings. So I just leave it be like it is and let other people judge it.
That's just it. There's some evidence that I have. I won't put out there because the simple fact is, we put it out there. It could be, I ain't going to lie to you about anything. You can ask anybody that knows me. I'm going to put the straight truth out there. If you plan on stretching the truth, forget it. You ain't going to do it. Not with me around. But I won't put it out there because the simple fact is, everybody's going to say it's a fake. It's a hoax. but we do not have a body. So we don't know what one actually
Well, actually, we do have bodies.
looks
The
like.
government does. Look at Mount
Huh?
St. Helens. They retrieved the bodies there. Look at the forest fires in '99 out west. They retrieved a Bigfoot body. The firemen were working on it. The government shows up, recovers the body, and tells the fireman, "You wasn't here. We wasn't here. Don't talk about it. Never seeing us, or never talk about it. Never seen us here. You weren't here." You know, I mean, they have the bodies. You know, I mean, there's signs that, state parks,
Have we
national
seen it?
forests, uh, that tells you what to do if you see a Bigfoot. Don't run. Don't feed it. You know, I don't know if they're legit signs from the forestry, but it's got the forestry stamp on it. So somebody knows, and I mean, some states you're not allowed to kill them. It's on the books. So what do you think?
Well, we know. Yeah, you're not going to get any argument out of me and Tom because we both know they're here. There's no doubt whatsoever in our minds. But like he said, we don't put all of our evidence out there on Facebook. We usually don't put any of our videos, as far as those taken with thermal cameras, on Facebook because you're just going to run into people that's going to try to challenge you when you do that. And I'm not going to waste my time arguing with somebody. So we don't do it.
Now we do share our evidence with certain people in the Bigfoot field. These are, what's the word I'm looking for, Dusty?
I didn't hear what you said.
We do share our evidence with people in the Bigfoot community, but they're academic. That's it.
Well, and they're individuals that we know are not going to pass it around or try to claim it as theirs and that kind of stuff. It's people that we trust.
Right. I mean, people send me stuff all the time, and I didn't know Bigfoot can crawl like a spider. Did you all know that?
Now, we watched the one the night that crawled up within 40 feet of us, crawled the whole time.
I mean, that blew me away. And then seeing it stay looking like a spider, hunker down as the person was walking by, it's like, if I don't move, you don't see me. If I don't move, you don't see me. And he took a picture and he was like, "Do you see anything?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I see something, but I don't understand what I'm seeing because I never seen something like that before." So, and he's like, "Well, you know about the spider crawl?" I was like, "I always heard people say of it, but I never seen one actually do it." And there's some pictures I've seen that are blurry and so forth, and and the cameras, I don't know what to say about the cameras.
There's no doubt in what we saw and what we filmed. So,
yeah,
there was five or six of us there that all of us watched.
Yeah, 5 of us watched him that night. And if you were to look at the one still photo that we took from the video, his back legs are kind of splayed, like, if you can imagine, kind of like what a frog looks like. His back legs were kind of splayed out like that. So it'd be a very difficult position for a human to get in, let alone stay in very long and crawl that way.
Right.
Now, here's the one thing about it is it didn't make a sound going through the brush.
I see. I don't understand that.
We don't either. But like Tom said, we watched him for a couple hours crawling from tree to tree as he got closer to us, and not once did we ever hear a rustling of the leaves or snapping of the branches or anything like that. It's completely silent.
And I've seen people videos that be out talking about them out in the middle of the day, and lo and behold, behind them there goes Bigfoot. They never saw it.
Yep.
And they didn't see it until years later, until they were watching it, showing somebody, and they pointed out, look, what was that? And they're like, good God, I can't believe I missed that. So, you know, it's just amazing something that large can get around without making
I think they can be quiet when they want to be quiet. And then at other times they can come crashing and thrashing through a forest, sound like a herd of elephants.
Yep.
Yeah. We had one actually run up the hillside. We actually spooked it. We actually walked up on it one night, and it ran up a hillside. And I mean, it sounded like it was a bulldozer going up through there.
Wow.
It was loud. And the property owner was with us, and it spooked him so bad. Usually at night he'd go back to the house. That night he did not go back. He stayed down there with us because he was afraid something might reach out and grab him in the Jeep. I'm serious. I mean, we have been in places that have been really good to us. And we collect some really good.
Guys, I have to apologize. I got to jump out of here because I got to go to another meeting that I had. But I greatly appreciate the opportunity to be on here with you, and thank you for it.
Absolutely. It was nice and pleasure to meet you and have you on, sir.
You too. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, Tom.
So let's put it this way, Tom. What would be your advice to someone new out in the field just getting started?
You broke up. I didn't hear you. I didn't hear the question.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
I said, what would you say to somebody that's new starting out? What would be your advice?
You froze up again.
You can't hear me?
No, you freeze up every time you get halfway through your sentence.
Let me try something here. Okay, let's try it this way. What would you say to people that's just now starting out? What advice would you give them?
The first thing I tell you to do is go out and get every bit of literature on the subject. Some of the greats, Freeman, Renee, some of these other researchers out there have got books out. I'm still learning. And, like that was something. I mean, read. That's the only way you're going to learn anything is read. Okay. Now, if you have a chance to get in with a seasoned researcher, listen to everything that researcher has to say. Eventually, you're going to create your own style of research. But when you get with this seasoned researcher, learn everything he has to tell you, listen, and then from there on, do everything that you want to do. But always remember what somebody taught you and what you've read. And the biggest thing is, and I'm going to tell everybody right now, is when you go out and nothing happens, that's normal. So there's no sense in somebody making something up. I have ran into people like that who's been out with me, and they would make something up, and it never happened. You know, your credibility is shot right there. That's why in my group, if you come out and you say something, you know, you have to be truthful. Document everything. I mean, down to the last letter, document. You could always go back years later, and then something would happen. Okay, last year something happened that happened back in '91. I went back and found what I wrote and compared it, so I can go from there. Well, we'll pick up and go. So that's one of the best things about documenting. Equipment wise, you don't need this expensive stuff. You know, I work with a little night vision, 2 night vision cameras that I got off Amazon. I think I spent on one of them $20, and the other one was actually a gift. And it was a bit more expensive, but it my recorder cost me like $20 at Walmart, and I'm still using it. The first one I had was, remember those little recorders that carried the little tapes?
Oh yeah, the cassette recorders.
Yeah, that was my first recorder, and I still got that. I still got the little tapes and everything like that. I got to play it on, but I still got it. Now, you know you've been in this business a long time when you go back and you look at your equipment when you first start. And it's like,
oh yes,
yeah, this is ancient history.
Yeah.
But you know, you don't have to be serious at this. When you go out with your people and your friends and you're doing this, go out and enjoy yourself. I mean, I'm not looking for fame. You ain't gonna get rich doing Bigfoot. Trust me. And when you asked me to be on here, I said yes, because I haven't been on one for a while. But I don't like to be on a podcast, or I don't do too many conventions or festivals because it takes away from my field work. Because I'd rather be in the field than just talking to somebody. But I'll do it. I don't know if the people that put on the Crypticon here in Kentucky, they're the greatest bunch of people in the world, and I speak for them every year. And if you ever have a chance to come down to Kentucky and go to Crypticon in November, come on down. Everybody's like family here. You'll learn a lot. You'll have a great time, and trust me, there's a lot there for it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, with that being said, how do people get a hold of you on your Facebook?
Called the Northern Kentucky Bigfoot Research Group. It has my email address, or you can message me. I do have a blog. It's at bigfootlore.com. blogspot.com.
One more time.
It got my information. It's got my phone number and my email address, like that. Every once in a while, people that drive through the state want to stop and talk to me and see my collection.
Something strange just can't be.
So what was your email blog again?
And I'll be around.
You broke up. What was your email blog again? Yeah. And then your Facebook name, because you're breaking up. You're freezing on me.
Northern Kentucky Bigfoot Research.
Northern Kentucky Bigfoot Research Group. Go check them out, ladies and gentlemen. Be worth your while. Been in it since 86, 87. He knows his business. He knows what he talks about. Very well-known person. Got a good group of gentlemen helping him, working with him. If you want to be on my show, email me at Grizzly, the paranormal at gmail.com. That's Grizzly, the paranormal at gmail.com. This is Grizzly from Lexington, Kentucky, coast to coast, around the world. I'll see you shortly on the next show. Until then, everybody, take care.